Hey, everybody, it's your hospitality friend, Glenn here. Welcome to the newest episode of Icons and Experts, brought to you twice a month by our friends over at the Extended Stay Lodging Association. Here on this show, we're highlighting a person who's either had unmistakable impact on the extended stay hotel industry, or we're going to be learning from experts about how to maximize opportunity and find success in the extended stay hotel category. Now, this one is going to be a great one. We have Mark Laport, the man behind Concord Hospitality, thanks to the support of Modus Architecture. I love these guys at Modus because they are the extended stay experts. They're out there developing and implementing extended stay prototypes all over the place. So when you're developing an extended stay hotel, the Modus team really understands your success drivers required for this unique product. They're out there creating high quality and coordinated documents, and they're there when you need them, resulting in predictable product outcomes. That's essential, particularly if you're new to this category. And chances are you probably are if you're learning here along with us. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I'm really excited to have you here. Now, Laport founded Concord Hospitality Enterprises back in 1985, and he's since become one of the largest hotel companies in North America, both owning and managing hotels, as well as continuing to develop them, especially, you know what segment I'm talking about. That's right, extended stay. Now, Mark's leadership has helped Concord Hospitality achieve Marriott's Partnership Circle Award 10 times. That's the company's highest award for excellence. And additionally, Marriott and Hyatt have each presented Concord with the Developer of the Year award, and he's gotten so many more running that organization. Today's going to be fun because we're also featuring Carl Wren, who's their EVP of Development, along with Mark, and he's going to provide some sort of insights and texture to this company's dedication to our industry. And finally, thanks to Delasart Hospitality for supporting this show. Delasart, they're the leader in third-party management for extended stay hotels with more than 22 years extended stay ownership and management experience. Please visit delasart.com. That's delasart.com for more information. Thanks so much. I hope you enjoy the show as much as I had recording it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Extended Stay Lodging Association's Icon and Expert Series. I'm so excited to be doing this series because it's an opportunity for us to take a little look back in time and see the generation of hoteliers that helped create the modern day hotel business. And a lot of times we don't really think about where we came from. We're so caught up with thinking about where you're going to. But by really learning from the top people in our business, I think we're going to have a lot of fun being able to find a lot of success together, particularly when it comes to the new wave of property development in extended stay hotels. And that's why today I've got two great guests. I'm going to have a little co-host in this series for those of you who have been watching. That's EVP of Development Carl Wren with Concord Hotels, and the one and only Mark Laport, President and CEO of Concord. Gentlemen, welcome. How are you all doing today?
Excellent. Thanks for having us.
Yes. Excellent. Great. So, Mark, first question out of the gate is, how's it feel to be an icon?
Frankly, never think of myself as an icon.
Right?
It's nice to have that compliment from you to me.
Sure. Listen, Mark, it's pretty incredible. I mean, after all, you started Concord Hospitality Enterprises Company back in 1985, and the world of hospitality was so different back then. From what I recall, I mean, I was in high school at the time, but when I first started in the hospitality industry in the mid to late 1990s, that was really when franchising and select service really started to get very powerful. So what was your entry into the business with starting Concord, and what was the point of view way back in 1985?
Well, way back then, I was a young, struggling entrepreneur. Cobbled together a few bucks with some other not so wealthy people like me, and built one of the first Hampton Inns in the system. I think it was number 7 that we were able to raise together.
Holy cow.
Pennsylvania.
All right. So I believe Hampton Inn was part of the Promise Hotel Corporation back in time, right? Coming out of Memphis, Tennessee. And none of the big brands. I mean, we knew Hilton, we knew Marriott, we knew brands such as that, but they didn't have the overarching influence that they did then, particularly with a company like Promise. What made you want to make an investment at such a young age in a untested product?
I was excited about the concept. I was excited, as I am every day, including today, about new things in our industry. Really feeling it in the U.S., new can often win. New Concepts, of course, Promise did a great job of putting together Hampton Inn, and it's become the power brand in its segment today. So it was kind of a guess that it felt right. Everything that was being done in the industry at that time pointed to where this select service hotel called Hampton Inn could win. And not surprising enough, they chose a winner, and we were happy to be one of the first, call it Hampton Inn developers, which we developed several back in that time.
I will say, Carl, I definitely want you to jump in next, but to give people a little context, as we were recording this in April of 2024, Hilton just opened its 3,000th Hampton Inn. That's just how early you were in, and that's just how successful that brand became. Carl, what do you got?
Well, we're continuing to do that, even though Mark at Concord has gone on to do all kinds of other brands, and from lifestyle to full service. We're still going to be breaking ground here in the next month on a Hampton Inn in Farmingdale, New Jersey, which is excited.
Long Island.
I'm sorry, Long Island.
Yeah, when you said New Jersey, I was just about to jump in. Hey, we got a Farmingdale by me. So the question I have for you guys is, how close to Adventureland are you going to be?
That's right. Not too far. But it just goes to show how certain things and certain new segments have come, right? Lifestyle and all these new segments, but some things have stayed the same, and including extended stay has evolved.
Yeah, for sure. So let me tie this all together. Carl, one of the things that's really interesting about Mark starting in 1985 is around that time, I was working next door from Adventureland over at Wendy's in the fast food business in high school and stuff like that. So that's really fun to see that you're still developing properties on Long Island. But since, Mark, since we're talking about extended stay and all of that, at what point in your career did you discover extended stay, and what attracted you about it out of the gate?
Even before I got to the gate, I saw the early on success of a brand called Residence Inn.
Mm-hmm.
That time when I was an observer of its success, it was not a hotel brand that could be franchised. However, at that time, we were working with Marriott to become one of the first 3 franchisees of a brand called Courtyard by Marriott.
Right.
And out of that, and we've developed many, many Courtyards since then, we were positioned when Marriott bought the brand to become one of its early franchisees. And of course, saw them around us as we were in competitive markets where Residence Inn was doing exceedingly well. And we thought, we got to play in this extended stay end of the business. And we did successfully. And we have ever since then. Love the brands, love the labor model, love everything there is about extended stay that makes them so successful and so profitable to operate.
Yeah, for sure. So let's give a little history real quick, Mark. The late great Jack DeBoer created the Residence Inn brand, and I'm a little fuzzy on the details about what time in history he sold it to Marriott, and then went on to go create other incredible brands like Candlewood Suites, and the final one that he created was Water Walk, for example. So how far into Marriott's ownership was this? I'm going to guess right at the beginning, since they were just getting franchising going. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I'm going to miss the date, but I know our first.
Okay, that's generally
in the early 90s.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So when you're thinking about developing extended stay brands, how did you know you were really onto something so early when the rest of the industry seemed to have its eyes closed? I mean, gosh, for almost decades after you developed that first one.
I think we were, maybe I was, as other extended stay operators and developers we might have been a little myopic as far as how big it could be. We just saw each deal one at a time, could be very successful within a market, and that, of course, resonated. Really wasn't all that into this is something big and it's going to be really big industry wide. What we did see were individual successes, which we participated in, and always thought of our business here at Concord as developers of the one-off. We developed a hotel, then another hotel, then another hotel. And it wasn't until recent years that we started seeing things in a bigger way, building hotels, and particularly extended stay hotels, programmatically.
Right. And right now, you're focused, you just did a groundbreaking on Studio Res, a new concept from Marriott. It's in that mid-scale extended stay segment here in the United States and Canada. And you have plans to build dozens of them. In fact, 4 dozen plus of them. So that's a big change in strategy over there. But going back to your early days, what was it like trying to get a project off the ground? And I want to connect it to the fact that everybody's been griping about interest rates so much, about how that's changed things. But my guess is when you were developing your first extended stay property, it might have been even more adverse conditions.
I always remember it as being tough and challenging, but a lot of fun. So really didn't focus on, holy cow, are we ever going to get this done?
Right.
It really was, we are going to get it done. We just got to put all the pieces together methodically with good partners, with good lenders. We had a good franchisor in Marriott and the early Residence Inn, and we've worked with them, and Hyatt and Hilton and others since then. But for those that are watching this that are way younger than I think the point is, if you really put your mind to it and you really have a good plan and you can surround yourself with good people that can help you, it's totally doable.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. And I love the fact that we're able to give advice to younger people. And one of the things that I think younger people have is they don't know what they don't know. So when you were young and trying to learn things, now you've got a well-oiled machine. You've got a system. You're going to be able to probably build these 50 new products a lot easier emotionally and mentally than it was getting those first few properties off the ground, right? Because you got the patterns, you've got the systems, there's less surprises and that sort of thing. So what was your struggle like at the beginning trying to create a property and learn how to do development at the same time?
A lot of it was learned by doing, one step at a time, very pragmatic way of becoming a hotel developer. Because, of course, I didn't have any experience looking back over my shoulder. It was getting together again with people that knew how to build things, good builders, good contractors. One of my first partners was a retired Seabee from the Navy who built things all over the world. And that helped us immeasurably because he was a great thinker and knew, as a civil engineer, knew how to build things. Other partners were good at raising money. We did some of the early syndications because none of us, thinking back, we weren't lucky enough to have a pile of money, rich relatives or whatever that could say, here, go for it. So
right.
The capitalization of those projects was as big a deal as trying to get them in the ground themselves and build them, as well as negotiating early on with lenders who only knew that I had never done anything before, so why lend to us? So it was indeed a struggle, and it was not even from the first, but the second, third, and fourth. We were still very new for a number of years, and then, but you're right. Then the machine did become oiled. So guys like Carl, who really had done a lot in the construction and a lot with another great company. So the team developed and grew, as did our investors, as did the lenders who wanted to do business with us. And for sure, we were able to build a culture of operators that were all about winning, doing the right thing for our guests and fellow associates. All that kind of came together, although it wasn't overnight.
No, I'm sure.
Years later, and we're still day to day have some struggles for sure, but
Yeah, for sure. Carl, how about you? You got to ask this icon a couple of questions over here.
So I would ask, how do you describe the current state of extended stay? We obviously at Concord have done 20 plus upper upscale Residence Inn, Hyatt House, Homewood Suites, and now we're getting into more mid-scale extended stays. How do you see that playing out going forward? Do you see it continuing to be two separate? Do you see it it all combining? How do you see extended stay going forward?
Probably in some ways it goes back to, remember Bob Hazard?
Yeah. Can you please share of who he is for people that don't know him?
Well, it was Bob Hazard who was with Choice Hotels, and he was given the distinction.
He was the CEO at the time. Yeah.
Inventing segmentation, various offerings for various guests at various times. And of course, Jack DeMoor first started with more upscale extended stay, vis-a-vis Residence Inn, but then he saw that there were segments lower tiered that could be white space, if you would.
Right, and went on to create brands like Value Place, which was then bought by Choice and became Woodspring, as a matter of fact. Right, please continue.
How things happen. So as a believer in that, and also seeing that we would turn down guests who could not afford to stay at our upscale extended stay.
Right.
Seeing the lower tiered ones becoming more successful, but really not embracing them because it was just lower in the food chain of hotels. And we had to, over time, over the decades, to, if anything, to rise up, not to go down. But again, trying to be a clear thinker about where the opportunities are in our industry, saw the success of Woodspring, that's a great example, and saw that their labor model within those boxes were really something to be excited about. Only 7 or 8 full-time equivalents in a hotel of 123 keys in a marketplace that forever is getting more and more difficult and challenging from a labor standpoint. So we looked at the numbers, we looked at the cost to develop, we looked at whether it made sense for our team to do it redundantly, and all the answers came to us as yeses, and put together with other investors a idea how we could capitalize not just one but many. Today we've opened 17 Woodsprings and just all at once, and more in the pipeline. But then saw, and hopefully we're a little bit of an influence of Marriott to get in this space. We have been very excited about it and signed to do over 50 of them, with the first one ever breaking ground in Fort Myers just a few weeks ago.
All right. So I love that you're doing 50 of them, but it's really gutsy to do the first one and not let anyone else do the first one. A lot of developers, they like to sit back and go, all right, let's see what's going on here. Why are you the first one to jump in, and what advantage do you think that brings you?
Being first to market in whether you're making hamburgers or hotel offerings, we've always believed is a good place to be, as long as you, again, present yourself well within a market. Of course, location is very important, and Fort Myers is a great location. But we also saw that this took a little bit of the guesswork out of it, that there were other brands in the same space that had already succeeded. Extended Stay America, we're building one right now, was kind of our proof of concept, with the same pricing, same tier, of course, with almost 700 of them having been built. So I like to say we were pure pioneers, but actually we're really, really good copycats.
Right.
With a brand like Marriott behind it, and Hilton, where we intend to do some of their offerings as well. We're a big believer in the best global brands.
Yeah, that's really essential, I think, going further. Carl, do you have any more questions in this realm?
I think we're keen on this part.
Yes. All right. So, moving on, I wanna go back to what it was like in the early days. Mark, you were developing these properties, and so was the rest of your colleagues, in a world before the internet took off, right? So a lot of younger people today have no idea how things got done back then. Obviously, a lot of phone calls and leaving answering machine messages probably, and having beepers and stuff like that. but how much longer or less or the same, or what were some of the differences between the mechanics of actually getting a property developed? Because right now you can go text and get stuff done and have a lot of instant communications. I remember it's like you'd do something, you'd send something out by FedEx, you'd wait, maybe get a phone call at 4 p.m. the next day. How did that kind of stuff work for you guys?
I was one of the early guys that had this big ass phone in my trunk of my car. It was one of the early cell phones.
You and Gordon Gekko.
So I was communicating verbally in stilt shoes, or like verbal communication more than written. I think more comes through voice to voice than in the written word. Often can be misunderstood. But also for those that are on this call that don't remember what was called a facsimile machine, I too was one of the early users, and of course communicated quickly through a fax machine. All of that's behind us now except voice. Now my cell phone's tiny, but I use it as much or more than ever. So I think the real news is you could get it done, probably not as lightning fast, but on the other hand, it was also easier to go to cities and pull permits back then than it is today, even though we have all these communicative tools like you mentioned, the internet, that should have made it more more easy, but really not so much.
No, well, government is government, right? They need to put in more regulations, continue to expand their budget, so they put in more layers of complicated things and all of that. So that's an interesting thought. I never thought about that, where on one hand, it's getting easier to communicate, but there are a lot more obstacles that have been put in the way as our businesses have all matured over there. Carl, what do you got?
There's no question that, and hey, some of the cities do have it figured out, but it has been more difficult pulling permits, getting approvals. In some cases, it's tough, but it's been interesting, and we got to just continue to change with it. And you got to put some of that into your time frames and think ahead so that you can expect it.
Yeah,
time to finish it. Yep.
So I got to ask you this, Mark, as an industry icon. I mean, I got to know you by going to the lodging conference back in the day, back at the Arizona Biltmore, when I was a young journalist in the late '90s, early 2000s. I first came across you, and got me thinking. Every single week, I'm on the road at a different conference. What was it like back then? What was the first conference you went to, and how are they different than they are today? I'm sure they were considerably smaller in size as well.
Well, back in the day, as you put it, they were smaller. There were fewer of them.
Yep.
And that they weren't as popular. They had become really a way to learn, a way to network like none other in recent years. So in the early days, whether it was Alice, I was one of the early goers to that.
And let me just give a little context on that. That's probably back when it was like the UCLA extension product. So we're going back to Hyatt Century City or whatever the property was over there, right?
You're correct.
Yeah. Please continue.
Then there was, of course, NYU, would still exist today, and even before, and that was Hunter's. I don't even know if Hunter was around.
They just did their 35th this year.
So I would have been to there among their first as well too. So all those have become really big. I think Hunter had 2,500 or so attendees this year. I believe the first 1, 2, or 3 that I attended might have been a couple hundred, if that. So one thing for sure, as we talk about the history of what's happened in our business, it was a smaller business, and you knew those people that were doing things because there were fewer of them. So as we become globalized, let alone just growth companies here in the U.S., it's become daunting for sure, but it's still pretty easy to keep track of what we are doing. And I think message I would have to everybody is keep your head down, keep moving. You have some good idea and you can execute. You need not be blown away by all the noise, and there's plenty of it because it's so well communicated today.
Yeah, there's so much distraction out there. So how do you think about focusing on what you believe is going to be successful, what you believe is going to be important, while being able to eliminate all of that other stuff? And again, I think younger professionals, they're trying to absorb it all and probably haven't learned enough by trial and error or by fire to figure out how to make all of these components fit correctly.
There's several questions in that statement.
Nothing wrong with it, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, as I think back, one thing, you can't fear failure. We've certainly done enough now.
Yeah.
Hundreds of hotels we have developed over time. Not everyone worked.
Right.
But we positioned ourselves so if one didn't work, it wouldn't take down the empire for sure. And you always try to make it right for those who you were doing business with, which is a way to be able to get up after failing and do it better the next day. So it's all those step by step, keeping very focused on what you're doing. As I said before, keep your head down, keep moving forward, and don't be bothered by all that which can slow you down. There's a lot of negative news out there about everything we do, whether it's markets that are going south, the employers that are laying off, wars in the Mideast. There's certainly enough things to make someone pause before they pull the trigger, especially building a brand new brand. Why do it? Why take the chance? It's because of a few things. One, it's easy to grow a company if you're doing new things, if you're doing exciting things, if you're bringing best of class people around you. All those people want to grow with a company that's doing things, not sitting still, not being, frankly, a dynamic developer is one of the reasons we think that we are truly a best in class developer and operator. Move forward, be bold, be aggressive, but have integrity and quality and community with you every day when you do things. So people say, hey, they not only did it, they did it fast, they did it the right way.
Beautiful. I love that, Carl.
What is it that you see out in the future that has you so excited for, as a big believer, obviously, in extended stay and sitting on the board of directors of the Extended Stay Lodging Association, the people that we're reaching out to and meeting, what is it that you say to them that you see that has you developing so much and so into the extended stay market that they can look out and say, this is why it's got a great future?
So when you look at extended stay as we have, and I think in our company, we like to think we're pretty analytical about doing whatever we do. What's pretty amazing is that lower tiered extended stay does act a little bit like apartments, even some would say a lot like apartments. So part hotel, part apartment, easier to put people in that have an intent to stay a long time, which is very important to the financial success. And that seemingly, when you look at how our societal patterns are, cultural patterns, growth cities, that does not seem to be going away. People are always moving around. They always need short-term housing, short-term apartments, whether it's because of business, whether it's because of a recent divorce, or working on a big construction job. Those, if you believe in a society and a country called USA, I think you believe that we'll act and we'll be on a continuum and to service the housing needs, whether it's short-term or some much longer. You have folks staying in our lower-tiered extended stay hotels that stay a half a year or more. It really pronounces and underscores that this is a type of lodging that has a very, very rosy future.
Yeah, it sure does. It's so rosy. It seems like everybody's gotten involved in it now. All the major hospitality companies are putting out multiple products in different tiers, as you said, because that's natural. As an industry starts to mature, it starts to get a lot more complex. And that means needing different segments of the market where they are. And that's what's happening with extended stay. So, Mark, with the panoply of products that are out there and so many more developers rushing in, what makes you so confident in this sector going forward that you're committing to so many extended stay properties going forward?
Back to what is, if not the most important aspect of building hotels successfully, I'll speak to it at least for now, finding the right location, being there first, being in growth markets, being in places that people want to stay because their stays can be activated because what's around them, whether it's restaurants, entertainment, grocery stores, all of those components or elements are important to the success of these hotels. And to find the best ones and best locations in the cities that are growing the fastest makes you feel pretty good about it. I will say this, though. Do we worry about competition? Yeah, for sure. You worry every day. You want to just do better than they or be able to compete with them in a way that you can win.
Yep, I love it. Carl, any final thoughts?
I think he's hit it all. I think I would just say I'm so excited for the Extended Stay Lodging Association. We're starting to grow, and the future just looks so bright. And we really appreciate you having us on, Glenn, and your help with getting the word out there about extended stay hotels.
Yeah, well, I'm really glad.
Interest rates down for us.
Hey, listen, I'm working on that. I got the Fed on speed dial over there. But yeah, I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, they were indicating earlier in the year that we would have already probably had, a break on interest rates. But it hasn't happened yet. It hasn't materialized. I guess, Mark, let me just ask you one more question then in this regard with interest rates. Does it really affect your decision to move forward on products, or do you just have to approach them in a little bit different way?
It can kill deals. We have underwritten deals that make a lot of sense in a given market, but high interest rates have hurt what is the forecasted net operating income enough that we paused.
Right.
So certainly when you're building something looking at an 8 or 9% interest rate versus, seems like yesterday we were building at 3.5%. And as you can imagine, the ability to lift hotels in a low rate market is way, way easier. So for sure, we still, that means we've got to be more careful, more thoughtful, and probably not as fast as we might have been when interest rates were half what they are today.
Well, as a not understanding wannabe hotel investor, to me, it would seem that that's going to knock a lot of other inexperienced people out of the market and probably give you more opportunities because you've been doing this for nearly 40 years at, Concord and really understand how that market works. So you've got so much more of an advantage over somebody like me, who's going to have to be like pulling in a whole lot of partners that have that understanding and expertise to help me get past square one. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. This was fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You guys are awesome. And I also want to thank our good friends over at Delisart Hospitality. They're a leading management company with owned and managed hotels across the United States, but they also will help you with revenue management, sales, all sorts of things that you need. Digital marketing. I can go on and on. Check them out at delisart.com, delisart.com. I'm Glenn Hausman. Thank you so much for watching another episode of ESLA Icons and Experts. Please check out the Extended Stay Lodging Association. They're doing great things to help push this great industry forward. We'll see you next time. Be well.